Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be taking in a little bit more deeper detail of our winter storm that'll be moving through parts of the south and eventually it should move up into the northeast by Sunday and Monday. It's going to bring all types of precipitation modes, quite a bit of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and of course a lot of snow with it as well. Before we get started with this video, if you guys like weather related content, you can always subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff all the time on this channel as well. Plus, we'll be having another update on the system here as well, as some things do change over time as well. So stay tuned for that as well. So we got that out of the way. There's one more thing I wanted to mention here on this winter warning map display. Look on the west coast here. Do you see these orange shades? Those are tsunami advisories. You guys are probably asking where it's coming from. Well, it's named the Honga Tonga volcano. It erupted last night, and where it's at is in just the southeast of Australia, and it had a violent eruption last night. Some of you guys have probably heard it already. It has produced a tsunami, at least for some of the nearby islands. I'm not completely sure if the tsunami has reached Hawaii or the west coast or not. I do know is there's been some flooding issues along the coastline in Santa Cruz, California. That's all I really know at this point. Some of you guys are probably going to hear that on the news later today as well. You guys probably get more information on that as well. That's something I wanted to say because it's pretty interesting as well. Okay, since we got that out of the way, let's check out what's going on the other side of the country. We got a lot of winter weather issues and also wind as well. In these brown shades of color here, those are wind advisories here across parts of Silver Plains. You got another section in parts of Dixie Alley as well. We also got fire weather warnings across parts of Severn, Texas as well. We did have a wildfire in parts of western Oklahoma yesterday as well. Plus, these winds have done some damage out there as well, and, which is not a good thing at all. Currently, our winter storm right now, it's weakening, but that's just to be expected. Our winter storm is now to parts of Kansas and Missouri. That's going to be moving south down into Arkansas. Then it's going to take a hard eastward turn. Eventually, it's going to take a little bit more of a northeastward turn. There's actually going to be two different lows here. You have your upper level low that'll go kind of along the Appalachian Mountains, and then you have your surface low that'll go a little bit further south with it as well. And this is going to be very important for forecasting as well. Here's a little bit of a better look at the watch warning map display here. Kind of going over some of these things again. Um, in these blue boxes here, these are winter storm watches, which a lot of these areas here is expected to either get upgraded to a winter storm warning or possibly get downgraded to a winter weather advisory as well. These pink boxes here are winter storm warnings. You got a couple places here and there, and then these purple boxes are winter weather advisories. So you got that dark purple spot in the parts of South Carolina. That's an ice storm warning in those areas there as well. Those guys will be experiencing a big time ice storm as well, which we'll check out the ice accumulation forecast for the National Weather Service in a little bit. Okay, so one of the more important things is phasing. And this is very important because you will have two different pieces of energy coming together. You have one that will come from the four corner states, and then you got the main one that will be coming from the south. At this point in time here, they're already kind of trying to come together at around this point here. And what we've been noticing here is that it has been getting stronger a little bit earlier. And that's something that typically happens here within 24 to 48 hours within an event. This has been there was a little trend of it last night, and that kind of made things shift a little bit to the northwest, also known as the northwest trend, which some of you guys have probably heard it multiple times before. It did happen on this setup, but it's not a big northwest shift this time. It's not a major northwest shift. But anyway, how this phase is going to work can really determine the track of the system. So we'll probably find that out maybe later tonight with the system here as well. Then we should be able to have a really good idea of where the track is going to be going, because the track really matters for so many areas, especially across parts of the Ohio Valley in Northeast. Really about everything kind of stays the same for the Carolinas. I mean, even if the warm air aloft may get warmer, the cold air dimming effect is still going to be there at the surface. You'll still get colder air get pulled from the north, and at the same time you'll get a warm air aloft. This kind of comes from the Atlantic Ocean, and then you get a widespread freezing rain and sleet event for those areas. That's kind of how that occurs there as well. But anyway, you do see here how the system here really starts to get going. But you also do notice at the same time, here comes another piece of energy coming from the Midwest. That'll bring in another round of some snow across parts of the Midwest, down to parts of the Ohio Valley and the Appalachian Mountains as well. So that could bring in a round of some light to moderate snow. Excuse me. Um, that could bring in another round of light to moderate snowfall across parts of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, into parts of the Mid-Atlantic as well. And at that point, that should really move the system out of here as well. That's what's going to help accelerate that system there as well. Okay, another thing I want to check out, like I was mentioning a little bit earlier about that warm air loft. So you got to go up to 5,000 feet up. This is where you kind of get your sleet and freezing rain. This is where it kind of comes from. Focus in the green colors here, and there's this little white line. That's your freezing line right here. And any time if you're slightly above freezing, um, just above you, above your head, it's about 5,000 feet up, it could go from snow, and then when it hits that warm air loft, it goes to a liquid. So that's rain. However, at the surface, as we do check out temperatures at the surface, at the same time, temperatures are at or below freezing. You can see here in parts of North Carolina, you get temperatures at the surface at 27 degrees. But if you look into the warm air aloft, that's the wrong thing. That's wind. Here we go. It's above freezing. This stuff like this can lead to a widespread freezing rain and sleet event, especially if you're in the Central Carolinas. This is where we could possibly experience some of the heaviest of the ice. But if you're closer to the mountains, you might see a little bit more sleet than freezing rain. You'll be very lucky on that. Trust me. Freezing rain sucks on these events. You do see here how you got this very large warm air loft going on here, and you can see it tries to cut into that snow band. There's going to be a band of some heavy snow going to be in here. Some of that may try to mix in as maybe a little bit sleet as well, if that warm air loft um, gets right around freezing or something like that, or slightly above freezing. There we go. That's a better way to put it. You can see I have 1 degree Celsius, 0 degrees Celsius, that's freezing, and then 1 degree Celsius, that's slightly above freezing. Uh, there as well. So that's kind of how that works there as well. You can see here, if the system trends stronger with this here, it's also going to bring in this warm air a little bit more closer into the cold sector of the system. So that's stuff that should be noted as well. If you're going to trend as a stronger system, not only it may try to pull in colder air, it's also going to try to pull in warmer air as well. And of course, a little bit more moisture with it as well, which that's the next thing we'll be talking about. So this is your PreSimple Water. So this is how much liquid it's in the atmosphere. This also kind of leads towards your snow ratios. The more liquid, you know, wetter the snowflakes can be. Well, if the temperatures are very marginal, which in this event, temperatures will be very marginal in the cold sector. You'll have temperatures that be stuck in the low 30s for most of the time, maybe in the upper 20s for some places. That can lead to a wet snow event as well. And with a high liquid ratio, there could be some pretty good snowfall rates in there as well. However, at the same time, here's your upper level low right here. It's trying to drag in a little bit of dry air as well. So there could be a little bit of a dry slot around the upper level low. So if anybody's going to track of that upper level low, you guys may get a break from the action here, which you can see here where these wind bars are going. Here's your upper level low over Pittsburgh at that time as well. And you can see here, then it starts to pull away to the north as well. So there could be a little bit of a dry slot that may try to get pulled in here as well. And that could break down your snowfall totals as well. So that's why this forecast is going to be very difficult as well, especially if the track does change, because it could change a lot of things as well if your track is going to change as well. And here's the highest name here for a preference with that PreSimple Water, and it shows something pretty similar here. And it's actually got a little bit more drier air to work with as well. Here's your upper level low right here. That's going to track to the northeast. Your surface low will be somewhere in the parts of North Carolina at that point. You can see here, stronger the upper level low, the more dry air it's going to try to and pull in as well. And that can certainly affect your snowfall totals as well. So really the only area that could experience a lot of snow, if that does occur, might be kind of on the outer edge of this here. So maybe somewhere right in here, in this red circle here. Maybe in the parts of eastern Ohio, northwest of Pennsylvania, up into New York as well. That's actually an area that I'm watching for the potential for some of the heaviest snow as well. All right, let's check out some of those snowfall totals here. Actually, we should probably check out the precipitation type first. It'll be easier to look at it that way. We'll start off with the NAM, and you can see here two different surface lows. And like I said there, with that warm air loft, you could get some mixed precipitation modes. Now, I understand that the NAM shows a lot of freezing rain, but I think in my opinion here, it might be a little bit overdone with the warm air aloft. So I think most of it, if there's going to be a mix here, it's probably going to be sleet, especially if we're going to be on the western edge of all this right here. I think it's going to be mostly sleet. But if you're going to be kind of the track of the upper level low, yes, it'll probably be more in the way of freezing rain as well. So then again, here's your two low pressure systems. There's your upper level low right here. Here's your surface low right here. These two will be tracking up something like this. And you can definitely tell there with that little dry slot there where that upper level low is going to be at around that time frame as well. A lot of snow going on here, especially on the backside of the system here. Really on the northwest side of the system here is probably where we're going to expect some of the heaviest snow bands to be at that point. That's where we're going to have a lot of energy to work with as well. But check this out though. Eventually, the upper level low will kind of merge in with the surface low. And you can see here, it's pulling in a lot of warmer air. I mean, check that out. It's showing rain as far west as central Pennsylvania. So that's pretty far inland. And even for parts of central Pennsylvania, it's got some freezing rain trying to mix in as well. So this could really keep your snowfall total potential pretty on the lower end side as well. So, I mean, if the NAM is correct, we're definitely going to see a lot of disappointed people out there. Or in other words, there might not be a whole lot of snow out there. There may not be a whole lot. I do expect these areas here to get a decent amount of snow, but if you could kind of compare it here, if it were to be all snow event, there could be a lot of snow, but with something like this, there probably won't be as much snow out there. So, but then again, I think it might be a little bit overdone with the warm air aloft here as well. So I know it shows a lot of freeze rain, but I think a lot of that's going to be sleet as well, especially when you're low. It's going to be creating its own cold pool on the backside here as well. And then we'll check out the snowfall totals here. In really an event like this, you can actually use the 10 to 1 ratio because those temperatures are going to be very marginal at the surface. You can definitely see here where it's indicating some of those heavy snow bands. You got really anywhere from central Tennessee, maybe into parts of northeastern Alabama, through central and eastern Kentucky, eastern Ohio, northwest of Pennsylvania, into western New York. It kind of goes off the screen, but it also goes up into northern New York, northern New Hampshire, Vermont, and maybe up to northern Maine as well. And then you just see this large area here of just not a whole lot of snow out there as well. And really the area I'm most focused on with the potential for some of the heavy snow bands are probably going to be somewhere in eastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, and western New York. That's where we're going to have some of the enhanced lake effect snow effect because you will have winds coming from the north as well. It'll be some pretty cold temperatures coming in behind it as well. So you could get some lake effect snow enhancement for those some of those areas there as well. And I think we have the potential to see at least a foot of snow for some of those areas up there as well. Another area that could potentially see a lot of snow will probably be in the higher elevations in western North Carolina, and that could possibly get up into parts of western Virginia, eastern West Virginia, into the higher elevations of Maryland as well. And with that ice potential, if we check out the freeze and rain accumulation, you can see here, it shows a lot out there. Now, a lot of these amounts here are likely to be overdone, but really really the area that could see most of the icing will likely be somewhere in the Carolinas, probably anywhere from parts of the upstate South Carolina into central North Carolina as well, is where we're looking to be seeing where most of the ice will be at as well. And a little bit farther towards the mountains here, we're going to see a lot of sleet being mixed in there as well. Could be 1 to 2 inches of sleet being mixed in there as well. Here's a high-res NAM. It's actually pretty similar to the NAM here. It's a little further west here. It's got some pretty good snowfall totals from central Tennessee, central and eastern Kentucky, eastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, into western New York as well. And then again, some of those highest amounts can be found anywhere from eastern Ohio up into western New York there as well. Here's the freeze and rain accumulation. You can see here some of the highest amounts are looking to be somewhere in the parts of South Carolina and North Carolina as well. Now, then again, I think a lot of these amounts will be overdone. They are typically overdone. So even if you get a little bit of freeze and rain in the parts of the Northeast, it won't be a whole lot. Maybe at best 5/100ths of an inch. Maybe at best. Some areas could see a tenth of an inch of ice as well. That could be a possibility there as well. But I think the majority of it is going to be in the form of sleet in a lot of those areas as well. But then again, the potential is there we could see some sleet being mixed in or freezing rain being mixed in as well. Here's the HER models, actually a little bit further east with some of the heaviest of the snow. Might be a little farther to the east for my taste, but we'll have to see how the phaser will kind of work on this here. But the potential is there if things may shift a little bit further east, just a little bit here. But it also has those higher amounts, parts of western Pennsylvania into western New York. It does have some very high snowfall totals in Central Tennessee, but I have high doubts on that. To be honest with you guys, I don't think that'd be very accurate there down in Central Tennessee. So then again, I think some of the highest amounts will be in western Pennsylvania to western New York. Otherwise, there's going to be quite a bit of snow out there, and that could go back as far southwest as central Tennessee as well. Rapid refresh is also referred to this model's been a little bit all over the place, so I don't have a whole lot of trust in this model here. But it kind of shows a very similar situation. Some of the heaviest amounts likely to be in the parts of northwestern Pennsylvania, or well, western Pennsylvania into western New York as well. Here's the hardest Canadian. This is one I'm also been very consistent with a little bit further east track. It's actually come in a little bit further to west, just a little bit as well. But then again, you can still see there some of the highest amounts, eastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, into western New York as well, where quite a few areas may have a chance to see at least a foot of snow up there as well. Here's the Canadian model, definitely pretty similar. And here's the European model, and this has also been one of the models that had a westward shift as well. And then again, still got some of the highest amounts in the parts of northwestern Pennsylvania, western New York, northeastern Ohio. It's got another area for parts of western North Carolina, western Virginia, even for parts of eastern West Virginia there as well. And then the last model, which is the GFS, it's a little bit further east with it. But then again, some of the highest amounts are looking to be in northwestern Pennsylvania and western New York there as well. Okay, so this is some of the SWR service forecast here. This is for forecasted snowfall. Now, this is from yesterday, so this is a little bit outdated, but you can see here where some of those highest amounts could be. So the higher elevations in western North Carolina could see anywhere from 12 to 18 inches of snow. Western New York could see amounts like that as well. Pittsburgh could see 8 to 12 inches of snow. Roanoke could see 8 to 12 inches of snow as well. Overall, there's going to be a lot of snow out there. And some of these amounts here may shift a little bit to the west as well. The possibility is there that could happen as well within the next update. This is the ice accumulation forecast. Most of the ice is expected to be in the parts of South Carolina and North Carolina as well, where we could see anywhere from a quarter of an inch to a half an inch of ice. It's where we're going to be expected to see um, power outages as well. Which, speaking of power outages, even areas that could see a lot of snow, like I was mentioning, parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, those areas could experience power outages as well because heavy, wet snow can be heavy and it can stick onto a lot of things. So it can put a lot of weight on tree branches and power lines. It can take down tree branches and tree limbs. Some of those can land on power lines, and you can see some isolated power outages out there as well. So that's another area we might need to pay attention to when it comes to power outages as well. That could even go back down to parts of eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, even up into eastern Ohio, good chunk of Pennsylvania, New York, as well. Could see power outage issues, and maybe into parts of West Virginia as well. Some of it I've almost forgot to mention. But especially if you do live in a parts of South Carolina and North Carolina with within the area of a quarter to half an inch of ice, just be prepared for a power outage. I've been to many ice storms in my lifetime, and with ice bouts like this, there's a pretty high chance you're going to have no power. So just be ready to be out of power. So have your phones charged, have a generator, have plenty of food and water as well. Also, definitely find a place where you could store food and water during a power outage as well. So definitely have supplies ready um, there as well. You know what? It's not the only snow and ice. It's not the only threat that with this system. Another threat would be coastal flooding and also high winds as well. If we kind of skip on to 2 p.m. on Sunday, and this is sustained winds here, and kind of going along the east coast of North Carolina, there could be some very gusty winds. 42 mile per hour sustained winds. It's very windy out there, and wind gusts could be approaching close to 50 miles per hour. Now, the European model is typically overdone when it comes to wind gusts, so maybe bring it down by 10 miles an hour. But still, even with that, could cause some issues as well. Here's 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Definitely some very strong winds out there, especially in eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, even the parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, up into Maine as well. So certainly going to be very windy as well. It's also going to bring a big time effect there where we're going to have that ice storm with some very gusty winds where you did have that ice storm, wind gusts possibly up to 25 miles an hour some places. That could also be very significant as well. That could cause more tree damage there as well. We have so much weight on the trees and the power lines as well. So that would be pretty concerning as well if that were to be correct. Here's the GFS model here with those wind gusts as well. You can certainly see there pretty strong wind gusts out there with the system here as well. At the same time, these strong winds are pushing the water here along the coastline as well. So we're also going to experience some coastal flooding, really anywhere from the east coast of North Carolina all the way up to Maine can experience some coastal flooding as well. So that's going to be another problem with these strong wind gusts out there as well. And then the last thing will be severe weather. Let me go backtrack to today. We got slight risk of severe weather across parts of Florida um, as well. That includes places like St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Largo, Palm Harbor, and Pinellas Park, Florida as well. Then you have the marginal risk that includes places like Tampa, Florida, Mobile, Alabama, Tallahassee, Florida, Spring Hill, and also Brandon, Florida as well. There could be some isolated tornadoes out there as well, but we can start to see a couple water spouts out there as well. Wind gusts could be an issue. Not expecting much way of any hail out of those storms. And then here's tomorrow. We got a marginal risk for the southern half of Florida, and also got a marginal risk for far eastern North Carolina as well. Low end tornado risk, low end hail risk. I meant wind. But then again, not expecting much in the way of hail out of some of these storms as well. So yeah, this storm system will definitely bring a lot of problems for the eastern U.S. over the next couple of days. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit that like button. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications in there, miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put in the comment section down below. I answer you guys questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.